Slightly different video for today, boys and girls. Sheffield folk will obviously know exactly where me and the pop are. For others, you might be interested, especially if you like licorice and licorice all sorts. You might be interested to know that this is where Bertie Bassett is buried. No, really, it actually is. Now, years ago, there's this, and then there's another chapel over there. And it was probably 25 years ago that Charlotte and I tried to buy the chapel. What are you doing? Ah, this way. Marley, come on, quickly, this way. Good boy. Have to be a little bit careful with a hound, with other dogs. You can sometimes forget he's a dog and turn into a bastard. Oi! What? What you doing? So, I'm not sure where it is. Someone did tell me once, a long time ago. In fact, that was even longer ago. That was about 1987. God, that's a long time ago. And this was all a little bit run down, shall we say then. It was a fairly sort of scary place, day or night. All of these hippies coming in, smoking ganja and stuff. Well, actually, they weren't really the dangerous ones. But one of the locals did explain to me exactly where Bertie Bassett's grave was. So we're going to have a little wander around. And like I said, Sheffield peeps will know that this is the general cemetery. And all of this upkeep and all of this, what? Which free ball? And all of this maintenance is conducted by a group called the Friends of the General Cemetery. And that's a completely voluntary organisation. And I don't think they get any substantial funding at all. I might be wrong. They might get the odd shekel or two from Sheffield City Council, but I, as far as I remember, they get 100% of fuck all. So all of the maintenance and looking after this place is all done by the volunteers. Big up to the Friends of the General Cemetery, because it's a little bit like, you know, that painting the Forth Road Bridge. It's a never-ending task. All right, pickle bum. What? You dare have a shit? I've only got one poo bag left. No? All right then, bring it. What? Marley loves it here. There's always so many different things to smell and roll in. Fucking dare. Also of interest is there's a couple of deer live here over the back there, which isn't necessarily publicly, come on, quickly, what, isn't publicly available or accessible, I mean. There's a couple of deer live here, and we saw them once, and Marley just thought they were big dogs. So And it's that time of year where all of these leaves cunningly conceal dog poo that irresponsible owners have failed to pick up. I've got a theory of what we should do with said dog owners, and it rather involves rubbing their fucking face in it. I know that's probably a little bit extreme. It's the sort of thing that old people say, but I'm allowed to because I'm old. But look at this. Isn't this beautiful? And over there, underneath that little bit there, are the catacombs. And every now and then, they open up said catacombs for people to go and have a little look and explore. I nearly fell over that fucking step then. But look this little attention to detail. Isn't that nice? Again, volunteers. Not that you could expect Sheffield City Council to really support anything these days. They're far too busy lining their own pockets. Julie Dawg, especially, she's the leader of the council, and hopefully this time next year, if I make another video like this, the electorate will have booted her and her colleagues out, because historically Sheffield City Council has been one of the most corrupt councils on the planet, with the backhanders they took from Amy on this deal to chop down all the trees, healthy trees, and which has now been proven that they covered up so much that they must have bought the largest tarpaulin on the planet. Marley, this way. And for urban explorers, down here is something rather fun. And there's loads of kind of like cute little culverts and underground waterways in Sheffield that people don't know of. If you want to not Google, but search YouTube for Patrick Dickinson, what are you doing? He's filmed quite a lot of them, including somewhere. Oh, there's people. Marley, let's go the other way. Come on, this way. Good boy. Including this thing called the Megatron, which is a huge storm drain in Sheffield, which I thought, when I first did it, I thought it was top secret. I thought nobody ever had known it was there. What's that? What can you smell? Are you going to leave some pea mail? What? Are you going to tag it? Leave some pea mail? No? Alright. But that was, oh crikey, again, that was in the late 80s. And since then, since the advent of the internet, everybody now seems to have urbexed it. Now this here is where the catacombs start, underneath all this lot. And like I said, this is a mammoth job, maintaining all this. I'm just going to pause for a minute, because there's loads of people coming. Get me, protecting people's privacy and everything. The other thing that I always observe about the general cemetery is, oh, you want me to throw that again, do you? Is the number of very, very fit totty. Oh, fuck me, I'm in so much trouble saying that on fucking YouTube. Shall I say just women of exceptionally fine presentation. These are the catacombs here. And up there. They're reputedly empty now. Also in this cemetery, oh, You want more? You nearly destroyed that ball, haven't you? There are some paupers' graves. Now, during things like the plague and the Black Death, they used to bury bodies basically by digging a very, very deep pit and then just chuck the bodies in with a couple of buckets of lime and then chuck more bodies on top of them. Some of those pits had up to 30 odd bodies in, and they were the paupers' graves. And of course, when you have a pandemic such as the Black Death or the plague, I always want to do my pirate joke. I won't. You need to get rid of the bodies pretty quickly. Come on, puppy. Marley, come on, good boy. And that's why they just dug these huge pits and just threw the bodies in. So in here you have the great and the good, you know, the uber wealthy and the owners of the industry, and reminding us that Sheffield was this colossus of the industrial age, the inventor of stainless steel. All sorts of things originate from Sheffield, including health and safety, believe it or not, initiated in Sheffield because people kept falling into foundries. Those who follow my rubbish that I post will also remember that I've got a nice photo somewhere of Marley sat on top of that stone. This is all a bit manky and muddy at the moment, but it's nicer in summer. We prefer it in the summer, don't we, Marley? Instead of like the dawn of winter. Come on, you bring your ball. Good boy. And I think we're about to encounter more people. Also in the middle here, which I'm not going to film, is a little clearing, and that is a school. It's run by forest schools. If you haven't heard of forest schools, they're essentially all about living in harmony with nature and being in the great outdoors, and it's for kind of like infants and juniors and whatever. Sadly, there's a whole load of... Marley, come on. Good boy, quickly. Oh God, have you lost it? There's a whole load of questions regarding financial irregularities around forest schools, which does throw into question the future. Marley, come on. And I know in places like, I think it was Denmark or Norway or Sweden, one of the... Marley, come on, bring a ball. Good boy. Yeah, that's a boy. There was an outcry because they were doing things like allowing 4 and 5 year olds to use knives to do things like, I don't know, cut bits of wood and things. So there's this huge outcry, which I think, well, you know, it's just fucking ridiculous. We need to, and I had a penknife when I was a kid. I'm sure that a lot of people watching this will also have had a penknife when they were a kid. Now we seem to be so overprotective and expecting that every child with a penknife is going to turn into a stabby gangster, innit? Marley, come on, darling. This way. And as a consequence, I think we kind of disable children, disable young people. You are the star of this video, mate, aren't you? So you don't know where you're going, do you? Come on, we're going this way. Come on. And it's almost, you wrap children in cotton wool and then expect them to be able to cope in the outside world. And it's just... I think there's a class thing involved in this as well, sadly, because when I was a kid, half of the time I'd have my arse hanging out my fucking torn trousers and stuff, and I'd be, this is the little area It doesn't look like the school's here at the moment, so I'll just sort of come on in and give you a little tour. Yeah, anyway, it's a class thing, middle class. I remember very clearly, you know, if I dropped a sandwich on the floor, my mum would pick it up, brush it off, give it back to me, and I'd eat it. A few years ago, it's a nice warm sunny day, and I was walking up the shopping precincts in Sheffield, Fargate, and there's a woman in front with a sort of pushchair, and a little glove fell out. Was it a glove? It was something. No, it wasn't. It was, what was it? I think it was a shoe. I can't remember anyway. Whatever it was. So I picked it up, and no, it wasn't a shoe. I picked it up and sort of like went up. I said, here, you just dropped this. And she said, oh, I don't want that after it's been on the floor. So yeah, anyway, look at this little chair. Storyteller's chair. So yeah, anyway, that's where this someone's lost something there. What? This is the Forest School area anyway. So going back to this class thing, I'm sure it plays a part. And you know, the sandwich thing is, if my mum hadn't sort of like brushed that off and given it back to me, I wouldn't have had anything to eat. And we forget that. And yeah, I remember what it's like to spend the whole day hungry. And we weren't massively poor. Not really by a long shot. We were kind of like just a normal post-war family. Post-Second World War family, that is. And everything was make, do and mend, whatever. Marley, come on, darling. Good boy. It seems now... Oh, I'm going to go off on a rant in a minute. Don't go off on a rant. Please don't go off on a rant. But it does seem now that we have sanitised our society to the extent whereby common sense has become a quality only noticeable by its absence. That's profound, isn't it? Yeah, there's some more pretty girls up there. Don't film the pretty girls. I wonder how much dog shit's hiding underneath these leaves. So that's just over there is a large playing field area, which is nice in the summer. All the girls laying there with their bodies getting sunned. Oh, you want to go? Come on in. All right, I can't usually do this because when Forest School's down there. You ready then? Ha ha, go on then. Come on quickly. Good boy. Oh God, far too many pretty girls. I'm going to have to just pause. Can't escape, can you? Get the ball in. No? Need ball? Ready? Do you want another one? Yeah? Go on then. Good boy. Come on, bring it. So we've kind of gone in a big circle. That's where we came in. Then we went down, around, through past the catacombs, back up through Forest School, and this up here is where the old chapel is that we tried to buy. Come on, quickly. Now, you've got to remember, back in the 1980s, late 1980s, early 1990s, this was completely derelict, overrun. You wouldn't really have known where any of these paths were. A lot of these monuments were all overgrown. It was, fair to say, a reasonably dangerous place. But this chapel up here, yeah, it's quite a large chapel up here, is kind of pretty much adjacent to the road. Now, that would have given us a very large garden, wouldn't it? You wouldn't know, you weren't born then. And the idea that we put forward, we didn't really take it any further because the chances of getting it through were hindered ever so slightly by Marley, this way darling, an ever so slightly corrupt accountant, shall we say, on London Road, whose name I will not drop here, but people in Sheffield know who I'm talking about. And this is the little, or not so little, chapel. And the idea that we put forward was to have the downstairs as an open cafe stroke art space stroke community space, and then we'd have an upstairs where we would live, and then up there, which we can't really sort of see now because a lot of it's been replaced, in Belfry we would have a kind of chill space. A few years ago, said accountant put in a planning application for, I think it was 12 flats in here. It's not big enough for 12 flats. It was essentially going to be a tightly compacted, low quality HMO, or CMO, Church of Multiple Occupancy. So rather than go for our plan, which was to make it accessible for community use, the plans went in to turn it into dwellings. Marley, bring ball, darling, that's a clever boy. And as you can see, right next to the road, so accessible. Might have been a little bit noisy, but nice little place all the same. I'm trying to remember when that was, about 1991. So it's before, pretty much before the internet was the internet. Marley, out of the way, darling, that's a good boy. And it was before, you know, you could search the land registry online and stuff like that. So we put a lot of time and effort into trying to turn this, and it's still derelict now. We understand there's bats in the belfry, and there's also bats in too easy. Right, mate, come on then, bring your ball. I'm not supposed to be running you that much because of your arthritis. So that's been possibly one of the most boring videos I think I've probably ever made in terms of vlogs, vlogs. But I haven't thrown any chairs around or thrown anything in the canal or shouted or sworn very much. At least I don't think I have. I've been trying not to. But this is one of the lovely places in Sheffield, and you can tell it's almost dark now. It was a lot lighter when I started this video. But I love the autumn colours, the way that they show off here. It's one of my favourite little escapes any time of year. And I've always got sandals on, regardless of how warm or cold it is. So, thanks to the Friends of the General Cemetery I will research, if I ever do a video here again, I will try and research where Bertie Bassett's grave is. But I think the person who told me, and it will have been, I mean, in the 1980s, and I spent a lot of my time in the 1980s completely off my tits on really good hashish. So you can't really blame me for not remembering where Bertie Bassett's grave is. But for now, I think I just scared her by saying that I was off my tits on hashish. She might think I'm like, you know, mad psycho killer. Students today, ever so precious. But yeah, so I don't know. There's going to be plenty of shots from this video to use as the thumbnail. I should really at the beginning have said, I should have made a spoiler that this is likely to be quite boring. Come on then, bring it! But this is one of our favourite escapes. Over there you can see the sort of like open playing field area. So we're nearly back at where the van is parked. And it's one of those little inner city treasures. The General Cemetery in Sheffield. For now, boys and girls, I hope you haven't found it too boring. Stay safe.